So I understand we're talking about CGI-powered immersive experiences today, which, by the way, is different than LSD-powered immersive experiences.
Oh, pretty good.
I know, right?
Maybe inspired by.
CGI immersive experiences inspired by LSD.
There you go.
Love it. Hey, you're listening to the Talky Talky podcast, where we talk about things that interest us. Today we're talking about futuristic stuff. Today is something that interests us. Sometimes we talk about sales. Sometimes we talk about marketing. Sometimes we talk about technology, business strategy, entrepreneurship. And we talk about some things we don't know anything about, which is really fun too, like LSD. You can find us online at talkytalkypod.com and everywhere the finest podcasts are concerned. The trigger warning, there might be an occasional cuss word.
Maybe.
It's usually Mike that's saying those, yeah. And it's not the center. It's like, it's not our main thing. But occasionally it happens because we're human beings, expressive in nature, and sometimes, an SHIT comes out.
We're passionate.
We are. You can find Mike at Mike Slack at linkedin.com/in/slackmike, and I'm on Twitter at Jake Fisher. That's the fun one. That's the fun account.
There you go. Good.
So, Mike, we're talking about hot takes on futuristic things, right?
Exactly. Well, and so I don't know if everyone knows what futurism is, really. So futurism, right, is this either body of study or thought about what life is going to be in 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 and 60 years. And the idea being that technological advancements they already have, but will continue to dramatically alter the way we interact with other people, with our environment, with work, with fun, with pleasure, with just about every aspect of life. And so futurism helps you to think about and imagine what those future things would be. And a futurist in 1920, right, might have said, well, launching a rocket into outer space and then having that same rocket land itself all in an automated way, that's a future that they can't imagine, right? And if someone were to talk about that in a futuristic sense, right, you would say, oh, that's crazy, right? No, right?
Yeah, sure.
Right, yeah, exactly. So what in 70 years, right, is going to be possible or will be a part of regular life that right now we can't even really imagine? So that's kind of, that the topic has interested me for a while, and so what we're going to do today is really just think about 5 different ideas from futurism and just get hot takes. So if you're ready, I'm going to throw one at you.
Do it.
All right, CGI-powered immersive experiences. And so computer-generated imagery. Did you ever read the book Ready Player One? Are you familiar with it?
I saw the movie.
Saw the movie. All right, well, in the game, right, you have VR, immersive, computer-generated experiences that are just like real life. And it might be hard to tell the difference between if you're in a totally immersive VR, computer-generated experience and in real life. So you could fall asleep and wake up and someone's got a VR headset on you and you're having a totally immersive experience and you think it is real life, an AI or something like that, manipulated deep fake. What do you think? Are you living in that world?
I probably won't survive long enough to make it to that world, frankly. But I don't know, man. It's just, to me, so the first thing that I think of is like video games. Like video games are so realistic.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't realize how realistic that they've become because I'm not really a video game guy. Like I do other stuff, just not really into them. But I got a lot of friends that are obviously really into them. And so I don't, like, for me, like, that's just too far. I really am to the point where I think I'm just old and crotchety and like get off my lawn and all that. So I don't necessarily think that, like, I will personally enjoy that. However, I can see how that has amazing capabilities. I know some guys that are kind of in the entrepreneur space. Have had multiple businesses in that VR space, and I know that it was a real big thing in entertainment for a while. I've played a couple of VR videos.
That was gonna be my ask.
And those are,
have you played any VR video games and like what?
Yeah, and they were okay. They're just disconcerting to me. Like they're like I fall down and stuff.
Oh, that is troubling.
I hurt myself.
Yeah.
because I'm like, I'm walking around like I'm seeing things like I think they are, and I don't know. I'm not used to that. So
there's a pretty wide range from the VR experiences that I've had. There's a pretty wide range of my reactions, my bodily reactions to being in VR, right? Like really intense experiences. Like I had this intense experience. There's a VR thing that simulates kind of like a carnival ride that loops you around in circles and sends you upside down, right? And then it launches you, right? As if the seat you're sitting in, like becomes disconnected from the arm that's spinning and you fly through the air. Well, that feels awful. Like I hate that, right?
Yeah.
That feels terrible.
Right,
There's
sure.
another game where you can, not Spider-Man, but a Spider-Man-like character and go zoom from building to building, right? All in VR. And so you're standing in one spot, but you're turning and you're doing all that. Well, that makes me sick to my stomach, right? That's not a natural human thing. But things that are more natural, right, are totally immersive and totally fun, where you're not doing something that a person couldn't normally do, right? There's a pretty popular game called Beat Saber, right? Where it's like Guitar Hero, but you're holding two lightsabers, right, in the VR setting, and you've got blocks flying at you, and you've got to slice certain blocks in tune with the music, right? Super fun, good exercise, and things like that I think are a little bit more approachable. So one of the challenges in that space is just the incredible amount of computing power you need to have to do really high quality VR, right? Because there's lower, simple quality things, and then there's really high quality things. For those high quality things, you need headsets, right? There's low quality things you can do on your phone, right? You can have VR mode and things like that on your phone, and you can have some experiences. But for that high quality, so it's going to be a long time before you'd have, I think it's coming, right? But it's going to be a long time to do something really, really high quality that's low cost and portable.
Yeah, well, I think it's coming, and I have not been paying as much attention to kind of just the VR space as much as I think a lot of other folks are. I know that there's going to be great opportunity, and again, I'm thinking from like an entrepreneurial investor perspective. Like I know there's going to be some great opportunities there. I just wish I understood the space better, like to be able to make good decisions, and it's not just an area I don't know much about.
Well, just lesson for me on this really is it's really interesting. There are a couple different kinds of VR you can experience. You can have like video recorded in VR, right? You have these cameras that have something like 8 or 16 different lenses on them, and it's recording and it's integrating all of this video together. Again, really, really intense processing power, like even just to create that experience. And it's it's one part software, but it's also creative and art, right? And then you've got things that are totally computer generated, right? Like your typical video game that's designed and all the rest of that. Tremendous amount of understanding and awareness of physics has to come into play in order to not just have, Mario jumping up and down in 2D, right, is one thing. Well, then if you've got a 3D game, that's another thing. And then a 3D game where you have position within it. So it's a pretty impressive amount of physics knowledge and math just in general that you need to work in that space. So it's exciting. You definitely need a STEM appreciation in order to make that happen.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no. And VR just is, I think it's cool. It's going to be great. I mean, and I think it is. I'm interested in because I know some guys that are doing some stuff in VR, but it's our augmented reality, and it has to do with like a lot of it's training. So like, imagine if, oftentimes like people that are training in really high risk, high reward kind of, situations. I'm thinking about like doctors, where people's lives are at stake, and I think law enforcement as well. Now, the law enforcement, I have personally been through kind of what is the current generation of law enforcement simulation technology, where certain scenarios are simulated, and you kind of go through them, and that's how you learn. I can just see that. I could really see that being huge. There's having a big application.
Well, to some degree, right? You think about flight simulators. Well, this technology, to a certain degree and to a certain quality, has been around for a long time, right? Flight simulators are not a new thing, right? But
wasn't Flight Simulator like on like Microsoft Windows 3.0 or something?
I wasn't there when they wrote the code. I wasn't in the room where it happened.
You probably weren't alive when it came out.
No, man, I wasn't. I wasn't even a twinkle in the eye.
That's awesome. That's great.
Okay, so VR on a scale of 1 to 10, your level of excitement and like this is going to be part of my personal life. Where are you at?
Like a 4. I'm not,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and it's just, I don't know. I really do think it's just an age thing. I think it's one of those things where it's just like I'm kind of like I'm just a little bit too old to really kind of get super excited about it, because I kind of like, you know, like unless the VR can like make my back not hurt, like unless the VR can make it so I don't have to get up at 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom, like then it's really not like that's what I'm looking for in like some virtual reality.
I'll tell you one unconventional use case, right? Which is, you know, imagine if you have a therapeutic scenario where you have either some sort of trauma, right, that you're trying to deal with or recover or come through, and you're able to really immersify yourself in some experience that helps you to navigate or work through trauma, right? So like mental health.
It's Iron Man.
Iron Man.
Yeah, no, this was in the Iron Man movie. Do you remember one of the Iron Man movies?
Was it really? I don't.
He did this in the Iron. Yes, yeah, he did that. He had like the you know, relived the traumatic experience with his parents.
Oh man.
Through VR. Oh. Yeah, you're Tony Stark, dude. You're Tony Stark.
I'm Tony fucking Stark. Oh man, well why don't we just pretend like I came up with that and it wasn't part of a movie and that I clearly saw 4 or 5 times at least and forgot.
I don't. But here's the thing: it doesn't make it not a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
It's super interesting that it'd have like a kind of a psychology therapy application.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Approximating something that you're afraid of, right? Taking those steps towards, you know, overcoming a fear, right? Whether it's swimming in a pool or playing with dogs, right, for kids or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm bullish on VR. I don't do much of anything with it at all right now, but I want to get VR video games when I have time for it.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Hot take number 2. Holograms. So virtual reality is when you put on a mask and you see things, right? Holograms is when you have computer-generated imagery that is projected into space in front of you, right? Could be on a wall, could be on just light on a surface. It could just be popping up from a disc, right? Like you would think about in Star Trek or something like that, or Star Wars. Holographic technology. Have you ever experienced anything that's holographic?
You know, I'm not in person. Not that I recall. I mean, I probably have, but nothing. I don't recall that. So,
I kind of imagine a world like right now we FaceTime for a lot of calls. I imagine a world where it is a reality like that scene in Star Trek from the prequel trilogy, right, where you have the Jedi Council and you've got 7 or 8 people in person and you have 3, 4 people on a projected hologram there in the room together. I think that's a reality. I think that's going to happen. I think those meetings will happen at some point.
I think that makes total sense. I mean, I bet Zoom's already going there.
Oh yeah. Well, and
you know,
what's fun about it is like the from like, you know, an entrepreneurship perspective is the variety of services and business opportunities that will generate from that, right? Because you will need people who are not just AV technicians, right? Who come in and set up your cameras and your speakers and everything else. You need people who are holographic AV technicians, right? Who have a specialized version of that, right? So that's like, if you think about the future in workforce development, there's a future skill set, right? A subset of the people who are in the world of AV who are going to get in the world of holographic AV, right? The companies will hire someone to set up their hologram room, right? I think that's a reality.
No, I do too, and this is the one I'm most excited about so far because like I'm imagining like sporting events like broadcast this way.
Oh yeah.
Like imagine the Super Bowl, but as a hologram in front of you, like right, you know, like 3D in front of you, like
you go to your high school stadium, right, and they project the game onto the actual field where your high school team plays, and you're sitting in the stadium.
Crazy.
Now that's a fun idea, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think it's great. But I mean, in the house though, I think we'll get to the point where we have these like these are like you're gonna. I think not even just a room. I think you'll have these in multiple rooms, and they won't be. Like you won't notice them until they're on, and then when they're on, it's going to be awesome. It's like the theater room, you know? How many years out we are of that, I don't know, but it makes total sense. And again, for sporting events, are you kidding? Can you imagine how awesome that would be?
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, in the ability to be able to, I think you would, think about, I can go really far with this, the ability to be able to change your perspective where you are, see things from different seats, see things like in a baseball game, see things from the pitcher's perspective, see things from the quarterback's eyes whenever you're watching a game. How cool would that be?
Right. And to some degree, they try to do that with video right now, but for anyone who has had a VR or AR type immersive experience, it is very different when you actually feel there, right? Yeah. There's the separation on video. I know I'm not there, right? Sometimes when you're in a truly immersive experience, in particular with VR that I've experienced, you don't necessarily know that you're not there.
Right.
Now, again, just thinking about like the business implications, right? How many tickets can you sell to the Super Bowl to sit there live and in person? 70, 80, 90,000, however many the stadium can hold. Now, imagine if you take every hologram-enabled stadium in the country, and you can all sell tickets for that as well, or you can license out the ability to sell that as well, right? If you can, once you produce it in one place and you can distribute it, right? The scalability of something like that takes it to just a whole different level.
Well, also think about the pay-per-view model, like the sport. It seems like the combat sports are the real big ones that are like that are real big on pay-per-view, like all of the, I mean, I think those, what's it called? The UFC. Is that what the Ultimate Fighting Championship?
The UFC guys. Yeah, the UFC.
I think that company's just printing money. But can you imagine like a pay-per-view?
Oh, yeah.
There would be a hologram in your house of like a MMA fight. My wife would kick me out. She hates MMA, so I don't get to watch it. But man, if she was away, like she had a weekend with the girls, and I had like the opportunity to do hologram MMA pay-per-view, I'd pay $100 for that.
Do you know who some of the industry leading people are in the world of kind of VR and in space like this? You want to guess who's some of the industry leading folks?
Like what industry that they're in?
Yeah.
Let me think. Hold on just a second, because I want to give the right answer. Is it? Hold on.
Think about who tends to lead in video technology and adoption of new video technology.
Social media.
Porn. So
really,
yeah. So I mean, my understanding is the industry adopted technologies in advance of mainstream adoption.
Oh.
Things like DVDs, right? Things like Blu-ray.
Okay.
The higher quality video output. So I was at a conference that had a VR segment, and some of the people who had exhibits were people who were making films, and they weren't pornographic films, but they were, let's just say, like back in the old day, USA Up All Night, erotic type shows that are not pornographic, right? But like, yeah, there's not really much story here. It's really just a vehicle for arousal. That's the kind of like video content that I think is some of the early stuff that's coming out from an entertainment perspective. And so I would imagine and guess that even before UFC gets into it, you're going to have adult entertainment get into it. For a lot of these things, that would be my guess.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, because it's really a sensory stimulating activity, right? Trigger warning.
Yes. Oh yeah, that was the trigger. That was why we were doing the trigger warning.
That was trigger warning.
Nice. Yeah.
All right. I think that's the. Yeah. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say, what's our next? You got another hot take on a futuristic tech idea?
Yeah, I don't know much about this one at all, but it's the idea of biomimicry, which is essentially buildings, architecture, infrastructure, things that you make that are mimicking what occurs in nature. If you think about the way homes are designed, homes are very distinctive in that you don't see structures like this in nature naturally occurring, right? Now, what do you see naturally occurring? You see like domes, right, where people would make caves and you'd burrow out, right, like hobbits. Well, that would be like biomimicry, right? You make a home that looks like something that would be naturally occurring. There's, I think, ideas about all sorts of different kinds of ways you can re-engineer, and the idea, I think, is that nature has already decided and figured out what's efficient. Sometimes from like an energy or resource perspective. And so can we build and make more things that look more like what is, natural?
Yeah. Okay. That makes total sense, because evolution, like we're survival of the fittest, the evolutionary process results in hardier, more stronger, more survivable kind of species, people. Like we are the direct descendants. My wife likes to say is we're the direct descendants of some really, really tough people, because you had to be tough to survive,
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Just by the way, if anybody's wondering, a good part of where we've got these ideas is from a San Diego Union Tribune article, which is entitled. Hold on, I'll tell you what it's entitled. It is entitled 5 Futuristic Tech Ideas That Might Actually Happen and 5 That Won't. These are predictions from Comic-Con. I can actually show I'm going to show it. I think I can. Can I show it?
We're so excited with our new technology. We have to show off our capabilities here.
We do. It's really pretty fun. So
See, all of this right here is would it be a subject of a futurism talk 50 years ago? Right here.
Yeah, right. So here are the ones the ones we talked about, the CGI powered immersive experiences, and there's our Ready Player One. The holographic technology, we talked about that. The biomimicry, which is really super interesting, and there's actually a link to some more information in this about what architects are doing as far as studying domes' internal structures. The next one on the list, though, if you look at it, exoskeletons. Now I'm starting to get really excited.
You're getting excited about this?
Yes, the exos. Because I was telling you before, the problem, like what I'm looking for is like, how can you I'm getting old. I wake up in the morning. I'm sore. I'm like, I start slow. My back hurts. Everything pops, and I got to get up at 3 in the morning, go to the bathroom. Like an exoskeleton would fix a lot of that. Like the exoskeleton, like I could just walk around and be super strong and nothing. Like my body wouldn't hurt. If I had to get up and go to the bathroom at 3 in the morning, the exoskeleton could just walk me there. Wouldn't even have to wake up. The exoskeleton just do everything for me.
So maybe. Maybe. Let me share with you another idea.
Okay.
Have you ever read any Star Wars expanded universe, or I think they call it Legends now, novels or books?
No.
All right. So who is the most famous exoskeleton in the world of Star Wars? Well, it
was General Grievous, wasn't it?
Well, Darth Vader first.
Oh, Darth Vader, that's right.
Darth Vader, yeah. So he had, lost arms and legs and appendages, and his body's burned. So he has a super fancy exoskeleton, and he breathes funny, and he's got the mask on and all the rest of that, but it powers him and allows him to walk around.
Okay.
Well, part of the storyline that you don't get in, the mainstream Star Wars universe is about how the immense amount of pain that he is in underneath that exoskeleton. Because it makes him stronger, and he still walks around, because your muscles aren't going away, your pain isn't going away, the fundamental issues that are causing difficulty walking or everything else aren't going away. You're just putting something over a wrapper on top of it, right? And so I believe there are even scenes in some of the Star Wars movies where you see Vader in the Bacta tank, which is the healing fluid that people in Star Wars they Luke Skywalker and Empire Strikes Back was in at the beginning of that movie. And so one thing in my mind, to keep in mind is, even with exoskeletons to give you tremendous human ability and strength and everything else, you are still a fragile little egg inside. And, so you can fly through, the thing that's, when you think about it, one of the many things, we think about Iron Man that's not realistic, is you see him get banged across a battlefield, and fly against a rock wall. Well, he still has organs in there. Even though the exoskeleton is hard, and even though maybe it's not getting penetrated, that impact is still having a physical thing. So yes, hooray for exoskeletons, hooray for research, hooray for especially people who are, paralyzed, immobile, something like that, giving them the ability to walk, run, climb, all of that, hooray. But that's where my concern would be, is we're not gods. We're not demigods, even if we have greater than normal strength.
So what it is you're telling me is that the Darth Vader suit is not going to go to the bathroom for me at 3 in the morning?
It might, but you got to think about all the implications of how that would work.
Yeah, I'm not going to let my imagination go there.
I don't think you want to do that.
No.
Now,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, but you know, if you think about, yeah, that I think it's a great idea, and I have seen videos also of people who have, and it's not quite, I don't know if this would be a category of exoskeleton, but I see more and more of those videos of people wearing suits that are allowing them to fly in different like ways and scenarios, right? The people flying over legs
that's been really cool.
with those like the reverse. Like it's like a reverse vacuum, whatever it is, right on the hands, right, where they're blowing air and they're flying through. No, that's some pretty cool stuff.
Very, very cool.
Yeah,
it is, and it looks like, and you think about, oh, that'd be really cool to do, and then I look at that and I'm like, can you imagine, like, that stuff's not user friendly yet.
Nope.
Like the guys that are flying, the people that are flying those things, those people know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, how much training did they have to go through? How much preparation, and what's the cost at this point, right? Now, same thing could probably be said of driving a car, right? Initially, who could drive cars? People who are really well trained and prepared, and they're very expensive and very select and few. And so, is there a chance for that to come to the masses? Yeah, absolutely.
That's a really great point about just the automobile. About like there were people that were employed, like that was their job. They were chauffeurs, but we think about a chauffeur now, and that's just like that's not necessarily we think of it as a highly technical job, but at one point in time, it must have been.
Well, and also think about how there used to be elevator operators, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
I mean, the fear of the elevator and the operator, I think, was really a comfort thing to some degree, right? And making people feel like it's safe and secure, and they're going up and down an elevator and everything is fine. And it was also a little bit probably of a class thing, but I think...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, last topic is the idea of genetic modification to people in things like designer babies or genetic modification. Seriously, like choosing, the ability to choose, right? Specific genetic traits for your child.
Yeah. Man, there's so many ethical implications there that I can't even, like, I don't even want to go there. Like, think about the ethical implications there are with the ability to be able to choose things like that for your offspring. Like, that fundamentally changes the nature of humanity.
It does, absolutely. And so I'm not arguing for anything. I just like teasing out the ideas, right? And why it would be an enticing concept for many people, right?
Yeah, sure.
So let's say you've got a genetic condition that's been in your family for generations and generations and generations. And maybe it's a mental health condition, maybe it's a physical condition, and they discover a way to bioengineer, genetically modify your genes so that when you have a child, they will not have that condition.
Yeah.
Would you consider it?
I can see that.
Right?
You'd have to.
You'd have to, right? Yeah. But what about part of the genetic modification? I mean, maybe it's tangential to this. Is also the idea of, we talked about exoskeletons, but also implants that augment your natural abilities. And so, to some degree, those things already exist. Like if you think about a pacemaker, right? Or if you
isn't Elon Musk doing something like that with monkeys?
Neuralink, I think, is his thing, right? But if you think about artificial hips, right? You're being augmented to a degree, right, with unnatural technology inside your body, right? And I
have an artificial tooth.
You do?
I do have an artificial tooth that's back here.
You are genetically modified.
See how it shines? See how it shines?
It's very shiny,
metal.
just like in Moana, that great song. But if you think about, okay, well that's a surface level modification, but like a genetic modification, right, where you're actually changing genes, or hey, the way my brain is wired, I'm not naturally gifted at math. Well, maybe there's a chip or an implant in the future that stimulates that part of your brain that's good at logic and processing, right? And then the question is, right? Well, Billy's not good at math in school. Do we get a tutor? Do we work with him a bit more? Do we get an implant? Right? Right. I mean, that could be a question. I heard a great futurist who gave a presentation that kind of was like an example, right? There's going to be the kids at school in the future who have implants and are augmented, and there's going to be the kids at school who aren't.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I know some adults that have augmented themselves with implants, but that's a totally different thing.
Well, again, that could be in the general category of adult entertainment, right? Again, leading.
Well, we were talking about that earlier.
Leading
weren't
the
we?
adoption of some new technologies, futuristic technologies, right? Why not?
Oh man.
So one of the things that I think is a good, a high level kind of talking point for a lot of ideas in futurism is the difference between the haves and the have-nots will continue to grow wider, right? If you think about the investment needed, either from a company or an individual standpoint, to have an in-home holographic experience, an in-home VR experience, right? If you think about who would be able to choose to design their home in a way that mimics, naturally occurring land masses, someone who can get aesthetic procedures done, right? Either for just purely aesthetic, visual reasons, or for reasons to enhance a capability, right? So it's not everyone who can do that. Not to say it's wrong, right? That's not the point at all, right? It's not that it's wrong.
Yep.
It's just there will be a difference. It'll be a greater divide to some degree, right? And one of the ethical, maybe not ethical, maybe just one of the philosophical questions is, if you become an augmented person, are you still Homo sapien, or have you become a different kind of person? Is it a different kind of class of human altogether? If in the future there's modified humans and there's not modified humans.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting, but really that's a question of taxonomy. Like, are you actually, is it actually a new species? And I don't know. I don't know. Literally, biological science, I know nothing about.
Got it. Well, I don't know that much about it, but I know that it's a very exciting and stimulating thing to think about. So I don't know if I don't know if either one of us have generated any new thoughts in the world today, but I've enjoyed this conversation immensely.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. This has been good. I'm going to run the theme music. Are you ready?
Yes, hit me.
I want you to know that I wrote and produced this song.
Wow.
Like, I made this. This is not something I bought, or like I literally, this is something that I made.
I am very impressed.
I made this, and I think it's a good candidate for the Talky Talky podcast theme music. I think we should try some others in the future. So
I'm all for experimentation.
Awesome. So, as we mentioned, the Talky Talky podcast, we talk about stuff we like to talk about. Sometimes it's futurism, like it was today. Sometimes it's sales and marketing, which is the areas that we work in. Sometimes it's business strategy, entrepreneurship. Sometimes it's stupid jokes. Sometimes I make jokes about biological functions. Occasionally, I talk about intoxicants. And that's kind of what we do.
Man, I fucking love it.
Hey, Mike, if you want to catch up with Mike, he's on LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/in/Slack Mike. Again, linkedin.com/in/Slack Mike. I am on Twitter. The fun account is literally just my name. It's at Jake Fisher, no C in Fisher, at JakeFisher. That is where you can find it. I like to put jokes on there. Random thoughts. Most of the jokes aren't very good. Some of the random thoughts are suspect, but that's where the fun stuff.
Jake, can I just say how I'm more and more in love with this theme music, and I'm just impressed with how it just keeps going.
Well, hold on. The best part of it is about to start.
Oh,
so
wow!
You give it just like 1 second. Here, it's about to get good. Here it comes. Ready? Here we go.
Ooh. I feel like there were some biological substances that were involved in the making of this soundtrack.
Oh yeah. This is so it's about done.
Oh man.
So there,
world premiere.
That's it.
World
there
premiere.
World premiere of that's candidate number 1 for the Talky Talky podcast theme song.
And that's the name of it, right? Candidate number 1.
Candidate number 1. That's awesome. Mike, it's been a lot of fun, buddy.
Great to talk with you.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay, it's loaded.